Hey everybody, welcome. How are you doing? Ah, what a confusing time this is, huh? Well, I want to tell you what we're going to be doing today, and welcome to Serene Sundays. Serene Sundays was and always will be a way to get you ready for the next week to come. And so I usually either share a story or talk about some sort of some maybe like some sort of philosophy that will help you get through your week that is to come. And I thought that today I would talk about Fionn McCool, and I put his proper name and the way you spell it in the in the title, and we're also going to talk about the black pig or the black boar. And I found that by doing these two things, we could also talk a little bit about why I feel these are druidic and yet, Celtic in nature. There's so many twists and turns into Norse mythology as well as into Celtic mythology. And so I wanted to share with you this great story tonight and why it's important. So I guess I could start by introducing myself. My name is Druid Code, founder of the Druid Circle, founder of Druid Order of Blessed Stone and Wood. That's BLEST, Stone and Wood, and founder of Druid University, which should be coming in a few years, and also Druid Living, a conservative pagan media outlet. So let's see what happens. Hopefully that'll be out by the summer. We'll see though with all this other stuff going on. Okay. So let's begin, huh? So I was thinking about what's going on. I was thinking about this idea of this plague, right? This black plague, right? And I wanted to dig into one of the books that I have, and that is, I showed this to you from time to time. It's the Druid Code by Thomas Sheridan. And the Druid Code is subtitled Magic, Megaliths, and Mythology. And one of the things that you guys know is that I am a fundamentalist. I believe in everything the way it was written. I don't believe in twists on the new sort of presentation and adapt it to our time. I don't necessarily believe in that. I feel that tales should be preserved in the time that they were written, and leave it at that. And then you can go ahead and take your own change and your own adaptation to yourself. But let's leave those folk tales and things of that nature in that. So why the black pig, right? So when we talk about pig and we talk about pigs, we are obviously speaking about an animal that was one of the highest, most fully regarded animals of the Druids, and possibly as well the Celts. But I know the Druids did value the pig. We know this that they offered raw pig meat to the gods, especially the sun gods and the sun gods of each of the Celtic tribes at Yule. And so one of the things we think about is, how did such a wonderful animal, how did such a holy animal, and we even see this in other aspects of lucky charms and talismans and good luck, if you will, and things to eat even if you wanted to have good luck, and that is eating pig. the most important thing that we as Druids do is eat pork. We eat pork. And that there's no going around that. It is not symbolism. It is real. We are human beings. Our eyes point forward, and we eat meat. We eat pork. Obviously, for individuals who can't have meat, well, there could be other substitutions that you can use. But for those that can eat meat, and not necessarily just a preference, I think that the pig is probably one of the most good luck foods of good luck foods. When we watch or recall the Amityville Horror, we see this black pig, right? This black pig. And this black pig has these really red eyes almost. And so this black pig eventually over time, and then into Christendom, we begin to talk about this idea of this black pig that went from such a holy, wonderful, good animal to the antithesis, and which I find actually, in reality, quite, controversial, because, interestingly enough, the first Christians who happen to be Orthodox or Catholic, the first Christians would have wanted to do anything that was the antithesis of that of Israeli beliefs. And so as a result of that, they wanted to be distant from that. And so, which I find interesting, because since the Hebrew people, people of Israel, don't eat pork, Christians do. It's something we celebrate with. Yet at the same time, it's something so evil. So either one of two things: those who eat pork are living a lie, and controversy within themselves, sort of a polarity within themselves, or two, they know that there's two distinct type of pigs. One would be the fair-colored pig, the light-colored pig, the pinkish white-colored pig, and the other would be a boar or a black boar, a wild boar, right? And so as we start thinking about this sort of thing, as we start thinking about this idea of this black pig, what was it that was so prominent about this that we need to know right now in response to this pandemic? And this viral pandemic, if you will, this Chinese virus, this I won't use the letters, but this coronavirus, if you will, or whatnot, that literally attacks the lungs, right? It collapses the lungs, from what I understand. It devastates your breath. It takes your breath away, and therefore it takes life away from you, right? And from what we understand of the sky gods or the air gods, we know that they breathe life into you, right? Anyone who says, I breathe into you, okay, life or God or something of that nature, they are accessing the just give me a second, hold on. Okay, they are accessing the air gods. And so the air gods are those who are assigned to life-giving properties, air, oxygen. And we need that as a primary to breathe, to live, right? It's one thing all humans have in common. We breathe air. Animals, if you will, all the land, we breathe air. So this virus that is a plague and takes life out of us is devastating. It is devastating. And so I wanted to take the idea of the black pig and place the black pig as an image of the virus. And one of the ways I wanted to do that was first by talking about Fionn McCool, and second by reading a selection out of Thomas Sheridan's book, The Druid Code. Because I do believe that this is something prophetic from his book anyway. And I'm going to read it to you. It's only a few pages. So I hope you could bear with me on that. I'll be reading from pages 200, 201, 202, 203, and part of 204. So really just, and 200 is just really a sentence. So it's only 3 pages long. But before we do that, I wanted to talk a little bit about Lord McCool. I see, while Demna is his real name, or was his birth name, Fionn McCool was actually one of the greatest warriors of the Fianna. And when you learn a little bit about these warriors, you learn also a little bit about what they what they possessed. And I went through some of the literature, went through some of the tales, and I really was able to nab one thing, and that was that Lord McCool had this ability to if you will, slay swine and black swine. He had that ability to take out any and all black pigs. And the reason why was because he knew that there was so much of a darkness within this. And I'm not saying that in this one particular tale or another particular tale it was Fionn McCool that did it. I'm just saying that one of his greatest abilities was to take out malevolent swine, okay? So that there were 2 types of swine. There was the good type and the bad type. The one we see in Amityville Horror, and the one we would see, say, in Charlotte's Web, right? So, interestingly enough, he is able to take them out by what many would say the hooves. He takes them out from the hooves. Knowing that, I want to read this section, and then we'll get back to Fionn McCool in the end. Then we'll do magic, and we'll also do your Eal, or your Fionn. Okay? So let's begin. You guys know I don't have bifocals, so I gotta take my glasses off. I won't buy them either. I am 50 years old, and it looks like I'm now looking underwater. Alright, so let's begin. This is from Thomas Sheridan's book, starting on page 200 and ending on page 204. This section is actually, let me just check out here. This section is actually from chapter 8, Within and Without the Magic Circle. Okay? This section is entitled The Black Pig Tsunami. The Black Pig Tsunami. Okay? One of the most cryptic of all Irish folklore tales is that of the Black Pig, which features in several legends, mostly set in the northern half of the island of Ireland. The general plot line essentially follows the same narrative. A giant pig, or black boar, in some versions, ravages and destroys huge sections of the Irish landscape, wiping out all in its path. Its fury is such that its colossal strength forms new valleys through mountainous landscapes with its sheer unstoppable mass, and gouges out long trenches with its snout and tusks as it moves across the lowlands to eventually meet its demise in the ocean. So, another thing that we hear with this black pig is the opposite of an ocean or water element would be the fire element, right? So it would put it out. Do you see what I'm saying? It would put it out. We also know that Fionn McCool had the power to stop huge giants, and in some folklore, dragons, who would breathe fire upon him, and he would take a shield and just hold it up, and the fire would bounce back at it, and it would put it out into sort of a sea or mar or marsh or even some sort of lake, whatever. Okay, but in many cases, an ocean. The Black Pig's Dyke is a series of earthen trenches which runs from the borders of Sligo, Ireland, right across to the other side of Ireland to the Irish Sea at County Low. Although parts of the trench had been turned into basic fortifications around 350 BC, the common assumption is that these fortified sections were once part of the great defensive wall protecting Ulster from the kingdoms of Connacht and Mull to the west and south. This great wall of Ulster theory loses its traction when we consider that the defensive sections are all disconnected from one another. More likely, an existing natural trench was altered by local tribes for holding and protecting livestock, cattle being the main form of currency and accumulated wealth in the Bronze and Iron Age, which would have been Iron Age 1 and 2, or late Bronze Age and Iron Age 2, if you will, in Ireland. And we also know, too, that at one point in history, we know that it was all connected. Europe and the islands were all connected at one point, right? And so people were able to go from what is now present-day France over and across right into, right into the islands, all right? The so-called Grave of the Black Pig is a rather cryptic mound near the beach in Sligo. In the legend itself, some fascinating and rather revealing metaphors jump out from the overall narrative. After being chased into the sea by a band of survivors, the pig, and this is extremely important to take note of, then returns from the ocean and causes devastation upon the landscape once more. Finally, a band of warriors chase the black pig into the ocean at nearby Easkey. Sometimes the two locations are interchangeable depending on the telling of the story. Even so, the story does not end with the watery demise of the black pig. The legend of the destruction in its aftermath reveals even more tantalizing clues. Along with the devastation of the landscape, farms, and human life, a further horror is unleashed when it is discovered that the black pig had covered the landscape in poisonous bristles which caused the death of any human or animal who came near to them. And when we start thinking about this sort of thing, when we start thinking about this death, this destruction. We're seeing basically a plague, and whether or not you wish to believe that or not, like I said, I'm a fundamentalist. I believe in this, in reality. This is reality for me. I do believe that. But at the same time, I also believe in the symbolism of this. I also believe in this idea that this pig, okay, is, I mean, this could not be more appropriate to talk about for what's going on right now. This is like this is prophecy right here. We're talking prophecy right now. And so, we send the pig out, okay? It destroys. We send the pig out to the ocean, and what's it do? It comes back. It comes back and does it again, right? Like a second wave, okay? We don't know whether or not we're talking about a plague that devastated it. We're not talking about a tsunami that devastated it, water. But could it not be both symbolically a tsunami in the sense of this ravenous invisible enemy, this ravenous, this if you will, this very malicious attack on human beings? It is a tsunami of sorts, right? It is the black pig, in a sense, a black plague. The word black in Europe always meant dark, obscure, right? Its name, dark and obscure. It meant that it was malicious. There was nothing good about black, okay? And so, one of the things about when they would use this term black, and that's why you have, Fionn McCool, which basically is, a warrior, a light-skinned warrior, right? A white warrior. But we also see it also symbolically as the light warrior, the warrior of the light, right? So you have this warrior of the light on one side, and you have this black pig on another. Now, whether or not we're talking about the same warriors of the black pig, whether or not it's older or was told at another time, or could have been a lost folklore, a legend, we don't know. But what we do know is that the legend exists and is powerful and prominent in today's day and age, especially for this current moment in time. Let's continue. Now let us use an allegorical method of deduction to unravel, and remember, as conservative Druids, we use scientific method, right? The scientific method. And we use the scientific method because, it helps us, really hone in on what truth is. Let's use an allegorical method of deduction to unravel the legend of the black pig as an environmental catastrophe told within mythology. So Sheridan is going more with the idea of an environmental catastrophe. Yet, in a sense, isn't this what's happening right now, an environmental catastrophe? Told within mythology. In this case, a tsunami, along with the destruction to the landscape, lives, property, and livestock. Tsunamis leave a toxic landscape in their wake. Once fertile lands are essentially for decades. The entire biological cycle of the arable means what? That which is able to give birth to vegetation, okay? It's arable. It's just basically that which is able to give life to agriculture, That's what the word arable means. The entire biological cycle of the arable and natural landscape is destroyed from earthworms up to the tops of still standing trees. Water wells are poisoned and riverbanks are turned into vast stagnant marshes. The basic requirement for any human society and infrastructure is stripped clean from a landscape, and along with this, the means for survival. All that is left is human habitation. In this case of a Neolithic society are two things: the stones of the man-made megaliths and the ravens harvesting the slain. This is so important. Get ready, it gets deeper. Now just imagine the surviving members of communities in 2500 BC. And as conservatives, we use BC and AD. We don't do that BCE thing and that CE thing. BC and AD is what it is. At coastal regions such as County Sligo, running to high ground as the tsunami makes its way inland. When the waters receded back into the ocean from whence it came, and they gaze upon the landscape to behold the loss of topsoil, trees, and wood buildings, nothing but blackened mud, and the once mighty trees uprooted and laying on their sides like the hairs on the skin of the black pig. The only thing left on the landscape was to have escaped the disaster and remained standing where the great stone megaliths built by their ancestors were. Everything else had been taken by the sea god. And who is the sea god? Manannán, right? Manannán Maclir, right? A god who incidentally is also the owner of a magical pig whom he eats partially each evening, only for the pig's flesh to regenerate in the morning. So what type of pig is that? Definitely not a black pig. That would be a light pig, a pink pig, okay? The allegory of the magical swine of regeneration is also possessed by the Norse god Odin. And remarkably, both are primary pre-Christian deities of the Isle of Man, or Manx, which is now waterlocked, having been once connected to Britain in the middle of the Irish Sea. I said that earlier, remember? I said that at one point it was all one land, okay? And just to interrupt, you have to remember Thomas Sheridan, the mindset of him. He and I had this very similar sort of interest. We both have sort of that Celtic and Nordic interests, right? Where we have those interests of the old religion, the old religion, prior to that which came well after the year 300, which began Christianity. Or at least the religion of Christianity, I should say, not Christians themselves. All right. In this legend of the Black Pig, a dramatic mythological repository concerning the same tsunami which caused the mysterious depopulation of Ireland and Skara Brae in 2500 BC. Interesting. Is this the same massive tsunami from the Atlantic, which may have been also toppled by the Grand Manor of Agra, Brittany? When the tsunami receded, the coastlines of the Atlantic Neolithic regions changed forever. Valleys of low-lying regions were now underwater. Entire communities were lost as the megalithic builders of ancient coastal of an ancient coastal Europe looked around, the search for answers began in earnest. What had become of the many humans taken by the sea gods? They were in the other world, of course. Now a whole new compensatory mythology was required to explain their absence, and how both this world and the other world had shifted their demarcation line away from the land and the skies and beyond to under the sea. One thing that I think about this when I think more deeply about what we have discussed, this idea of this pig, right, cleaning out, and what would have people done? They would have stayed in their homes, right? They would have stayed in their homes, right? They would have waited in their homes. Now, while we're talking about, say, another flood, if you will, or a second flood, or a flood, or the flood, right? Depending on when you think the flood took place. And that was the comparison. But interestingly enough, this devastation we have now is simply more of this, taking lives, taking the breath out of people. And what more takes the breath out of people than that of water, right? In water, humans cannot breathe, animals cannot breathe, right? But you have this pig, this black pig, and I'm assuming a black pig, a very evil, if you will, a very dark, obscure, a very demonic looking animal. And we have to claim that. We have to claim that as part of this mythology, that this black pig has no benevolence whatsoever. And so when we start talking about that and Fionn McCool, or I still like to use the word Lord Fionn, because I see, and while many people don't see Fionn McCool as a god, I do. We're talking one of the greatest warriors of the Fianna, Demna is, or Fionn is someone that we really need to engage in and activate at this time. We need to access Fionn's power. We can maybe not change the course of the tsunami. We might not be able to change the course of the black pig. We might not be able to change the course of this virus. We might not be able to change the course of this invisible enemy. But what not a better cloak than the black pig? A black shaded pig. Blackness and darkness is cloaked, right? It's cloaked. It's hidden. It's occult. And so, as we know with Manana Maclir and him being able to cut the flesh off of this magical pig, obviously not the black pig, but interestingly enough, being able to cut meat off of it every night and eat it, roast it, and have pork every night for dinner. And the pig would just so generously give him meat, right? And that's one of the things we learn about Lord Mananan Maclir. And when we start thinking about, Norse mythology and Celtic mythology, and there are lines of similarities, right? We see that in Europe, So if this here, I hope I'm not backwards. I don't know how I'm pointing, but if this here up here would be Germany and all the north eastern parts of Europe, and then you come down into France and then up into the northwestern parts of Europe, into Celtic land, if you will, and then you have all the tribes of the Celts. You have the Celtitalics, you have the Celtiberics, etc. You have all these tribes, right? That have nowhere really to pass, and now they need some sort of a vessel to go in between lands. What we are experiencing right now, guys, is something of a tsunami. And even when you watch we saw the numbers, right? We saw the numbers, right? It's like we're here, right? And then you have this apex here, right? And what's it look like? A huge wave. It looks like a huge wave, right? And it looks like it's just coming, and it's so steep, and it's so fast that some of us will remain here, and some of us will ride up it and down it without it touching us. I think that when we speak about the pressure, okay, I think it's sort of a different pressure, knowing that a tsunami's going to come, or even being aware that it's going to hit. What do you do when you see this huge ass wave coming? You can't do anything, right? You're powerless. And at that point, one would then just give up. And sink. And I keep on talking about sink and swim to you guys. So one of the things I would say about this virus and about the stories we talked about tonight is we need right now to access the powers of Fionn McCool. Not necessarily access the powers of him, but invoke his name. We need to invoke Fionn McCool. We need to invoke Lord, Warrior of Warriors. Because when we invoke Fionn McCool, we're asking Fionn to help us, be a great within what's about to come. And the devastation is going to happen so quickly and so fast that we won't even know it. Many of us have maybe had symptoms of cold-like symptoms, flu-like symptoms, and then it went away. Was it COVID? Sorry, I don't like to say that name. Was it the corona? Was it the Chinese virus? Or was it something else? And I think that when we start talking about the Chinese virus and we start understanding that this virus from China, therefore it being Chinese virus, obviously, right? We start talking about this idea of saying, can we at least protect our own families from it? Whether you see this as a tsunami, as that wave that they keep showing, that wave, that apex, right? The apex of the tsunami, right? Or whether or not we see this as something else. This is a black pig. This is definitely a black pig. Now, I do have my speculations on how all of this is happening and why all of this is happening, and I talked many times about, I believe that at least the party of hate that basically drummed up sirens. And I believe that sirens have been released. And in no way, shape, or form are sirens good. But I would say that it is also important to understand that we have the tools it takes right now to combat this. For your Earl or your Foriarl, I want to talk to you about the Druidic mantra. And your Druidic mantra, which has that 1-2 punch sort of mantra, whereas you're not just saying I am rich, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich, and oming that, if you will, oming that over and over and over again. But what you're doing is you're including, a subject and a predicate part of the mantra, and that's what makes it Druidic. Your Druidic mantra for tonight and this Serene Sunday will be as follows. I am but a humble servant of Fionn McCool. I am but a humble servant of Fionn McCool. Because I understand what needs to be done to overcome the black pig. I am but a humble servant of Fionn McCool because I understand what I need to overcome the devastation of the black pig. Anything like that. Okay, have the two parts in there. Okay. In the first part, you're invoking Fionn. And one of the things that I'd like to say to grasp the attention of Fionn is to clap. Okay? As you say that first part, you might want to, clap once. And that will bring Fionn here. And then letting Fionn know that you will do what you need to do to allow that black pig not to stomp on your property, not to stomp on your family, not to stomp on those you high in high esteem, and most importantly, you and yourself, you and the kindred, if you will. And that black pig won't have the ability to do that with that mantra, because you're taking the practical safety precautions of this, whatever this invisible enemy is. Number 2, okay, for the draiochta tonight, okay, what I would like you to do each night this week, okay, is to take, if you could, a little cup of water. And I know right now it's not conducive to do that, but just take a cup of water, right? And if you could find a black stone or a black pebble, okay? A black stone or a black pebble. I want you to take that black stone and black pebble, and I want you a little stone. If you don't have a black stone or a black pebble, just find something pretty heavy that's black in color. You could take some even black fabric, something that will go to the bottom of that cup, and you're going to watch it go down. And that's all I want you to do. And I want you to, before you drop it in, look at it, and you are going to raise that malevolence. You're going to raise it. You're going to raise it. You're going to call it. You're going to call it to you. You're going to hold it, and it won't be able to escape your hands. And you're going to hold it over the waters that Lord McCool guided people through, and your hand will be the hand of Fionn, the hand that protected Fionn from the great fires of the enemy. You're going to take that. You are going to become Fionn McCool and drop that black pebble into the clear water. Okay? And that's all you're going to do. And then every night that week, you're going to just leave it and leave it and leave it and leave it. Then, when you are ready to take that cup out, if you can, do this exactly as I tell you. Bury that pebble, that black pig. Place it underground, okay? And if you can't get to it, leave it. Just leave it. Don't do this until you could dig a hole underground. Drop the wet pebble into the ground. Cover it with the dirt that you dug up, and then pour the water over top to ensure a permanent death of the black pig. That black pig would be the plague that's going on now. And with all of us doing that this week, who knows the magic that can happen. This goes beyond time and space. May the gods bless you. May the goddesses keep you. May the Fae and Mysticals shine their light upon you, and may your ancestors remain with you forever and ever. Girawen. Adonit. Est le mo oui. Ta sei for. Ta sei for. Be it thus. Be it thus. I hope you enjoyed tonight's presentation and play it back as you can and understand the power of the most holy druids. Be one with nature. Be one with the god or gods of your understanding. Be one with the elements. Be one with the mysticals. Be one with those who truly create a space where you will be dry from this tsunami. Thank you everyone for watching, and I guess I'll see you this week. Make it a good one. and make it successful. Take it easy.